Because I will want to heal now, because there is another fight right before those stairs. And that fight might have something for us, hint, hint. How close are you to leveling up? Not all that close. Yeah, when I decided to use Kavana, I completely forgotten about its slow experience group, but hey there! You're saying the exact same thing you said to us back when we were exploring. Well, I'm here, so the one who's going to be hurting is now you. But you kind of know the drill here. We're going to be able to get this item if we beat this trainer, so I'm doing this because, you know, it's an item chest that we couldn't get earlier on. And Pyrite. I mean, Pyrite's not a great Pokemon, but it is still an evolved Pokemon at this point in the game, so things are getting a little bit tougher, I guess. But there is a huge difficulty spike in the last fight in this area, just saying. But that'll be for later. For now, I think I'll just headbutt you and bite you. Please go for Fish Slayer, that would be hilarious. Oh. Yeah, it is pretty fun when they use things like that on Pokemon with rough skin, because that will hurt them up to 5 times. Okay, pretty much a little bit over half. You know, I had a feeling that one of the two of you would be using Headbutt. Oh, okay, good, you didn't go for Shroomish, because if I flinched and wasn't able to use my own Headbutt, that'd be some pretty funny irony. Although Shroomish attack stat is still not all that good, even though I have an Animate Nature, so Headbutt's not really doing all that much, and I'm so slow that, I just thought of something. I can try for Paraflinching. That would be pretty cool. Quick Attack is all... Ow. Yeah, flimsy defenses right there, but that is the only attack Fish Slayer will be taking this turn, because the Zig's are going to go down to this bite, so that is at least okay. Yeah, I just healed and already Fish Slayer is down to this low HP. Low defenses. Also, Togetic. Kind of a weird Pokemon to be seeing here. Very weird Pokemon. You don't often see random trainers with Togetic, especially not villainous team members. You know, I just realized something. Someone in the comments also asked if there aren't, like, many wild Pokemon... Well, if the Aura region can't support wild Pokemon, then... There's only one Super Potion left. I'm just going to go ahead and use one of my Moo Milks. Then, where do all the trainers here get their Pokemon? Like, they can't all have brought them in from other regions. I was thinking that maybe there's a place to breed Pokemon in Aurea somehow, but I then thought of something disturbing. Aurea's environment can't sustain wild Pokemon, at least not during the Colosseum days. What happens if you release a Pokemon then? Does that mean you're basically dooming it to die? That's actually really dark. Well, I just got to flinch there even without Headbutt. Yeah, that's barely doing any damage. I probably need to switch to having Fish Slayer attack you. And, well, definitely, because now you've got raised defense, and I can penetrate that by using special moves. Might as well Sunspore you, just for fun. And more quick attacks. Speedrunners really hate that, because it wastes a bunch of time. Yeah, that did a little more, but Pyrite's HP is pretty decent for this point in the game, so I'm not surprised it's taking this long. So I find it funny that Togepi eventually gets pecked, because it's not like it really has a beak, exactly. And I still think Togetic should have been translated as Togechick, because that's what it's supposed to be in Japanese, and it makes a lot more sense, because, you know, it's kind of a bird, but... Yeah, weird translation there. Kind of like how Lapras was supposed to be Laplace, because it's actually named after a mathematician for some reason. Almost leveled up on Fish Slayer there. Delibird! Yeah! I guess in some ways it's... Well, I mean, I would say it's a bit of an impressive Pokemon at this point in the game, but it really isn't. Because its stats are terrible. Really, really terrible. So, this Delibird is not going to last very long, and I doubt it has ice moves. I don't want to speak too soon, because losing something to a Delibird would be really embarrassing. Well, it's just going for present. This is your only move, I'd be kind of surprised. Because usually in Colosseum, the Delibirds don't just have present. In fact, it was Colosseum that taught me that Delibird could learn moves other than present, because the Shadow one comes with a whole bunch of random things. But Delibird is still terrible anyway. It's so terrible, they cut its fading animation short. Okay, Shroomish is very close. I am kind of getting Shroomish ahead of the rest in terms of levels, but I really want to get a Breloom here. Breloom is really great, especially this early on. Breloom, like, 130 base attack is insane. Also, Togetic is not Fairy type at this point, so Bite is going to be doing neutral damage. Does have decent special defense, though, so not going to be doing all that much. You know, I wonder if I'll actually get Breloom in this fight. Let's see. Moment of truth here. Oh, not quite. Oh, well. I'll definitely get in the next fight. And that would be pretty amazing. Yeah! Gotta love those random defeat screams. So, now... Okay, I have another Pokemon to be purified. But now we'll let me have that item? Yes, this is all just some elaborate, publicity stunt for a new film, viral marketing somehow, and, all of the people were taken hostage as method acting. Yeah, doing that for a real film totally wouldn't get you into massive trouble. So, if I'm remembering right, there is a ceiling peon that will ambush you right at those stairs, so I'm gonna go ahead and switch out for Levitine, because Levitine needs to level up. Yep, there is a ceiling peon. And this ceiling peon has something pretty good. Scipion low bar. I guess the bar is set low for this fight. Sneasel and Yanma, though, are pretty powerful Pokemon for this point, even though they both have horrendously bad move pools. It wasn't until I was doing Yanma's bio back in the last game that I realized just how bad of a move pool it has. It's just kind of a shame because its stats aren't bad. And I kind of hate to have a Pokemon evolve in the fight that it... well, have a Pokemon evolve in a fight that it's gonna run away from, like a coward, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that just because I don't want that Sneasel to somehow just use a random Ice move on me. Even though it probably won't, because Sneasel really doesn't learn that much, and even if it did, it's not gonna be doing much, because... terrible special attack stat. And there is Sonic Boom, which annoyingly is one of the better moves that Yanma can learn. Yeah, I'm not surprised both of you outspared Levitine. Let's see if that Yanma has Speed Boost. Yes, Speed Boost. I think it always does, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Let's go for a Water Pulse on you, and just for an Ember on the Yanma. Yeah, you didn't really plan this well, using two Pokemon that are weak to fire. Aha! Flareon is actually useful for once. I don't want to be insulting Flareon this whole playthrough. Like, I actually still find Flareon is not a bad Pokemon to be using in this game. Just because in-game, you can pretty much succeed with anything. Wow, nice one-shot there. Like I was saying, in-game, you can pretty much succeed with any Pokemon. Well, I mean, you'd have a lot of trouble with something like Unknown, but, I mean, it's probably doable if you're really crazy. And hey, it's a Mischievous. This guy has a lot of fairly decent Pokemon, like Pokemon that are all kind of mediocre in the grand scheme of things, but that are actually pretty good for this point in the game. I use the expression good for this point in the game a lot, I just realized. But anyway, what we got next? First we experience, and then we have a Duskull. And this Duskull is a Shadow Pokemon. Now, there's going to be something interesting about this Duskull that I think I'll explain after I catch it. Firstly, though, let's go for an Om Nom Nom on the Mischievous, and for a second Om Nom Nom on the Mischievous. Uh-oh. Don't flinch me, please. Please don't flinch me, even though you probably are going to flinch me, because that's just how things work with you. Oh, that did more than I was expecting. I mean, Mischievous does have, and you didn't flinch me, good. The Mischievous does have pretty good, pretty good special defense, but kind of bad HP. And yeah, see, they cut off Mischievous's phasing animation, so you can't see the kind of most disturbing part of it. I thought you had Shadow Wave. It's actually probably going to be, Fish Slayer gone, isn't it? Yes, it is. I'm so sorry. But there's a healing machine right there. I mean, that's no excuse for me letting you faint, but still. I actually wanted to switch out to either Flaffy or Shroomish here anyway. Probably should use Shroomish just so that he actually gets some use in the battle where he evolves, but for now I just sent out Flaffy, so I can't really change that. Do I have Heal Bell? Gotta remember that. I can probably use that at some point too. Let's go for Ember. I mean, I hope this doesn't crit or something. Also, if this burns, that'd be pretty bad, because then I wouldn't be able to Thunder Wave it. Forgetting exactly what the catch rate modifier on burn is, but I think it's the same as paralysis. But it's bad because it means the Pokemon is slowly losing health. But at least I got Thunder Wave in. And Shadow Wave again. I do like Duskull's animation where it just like waves its arms like that. It's like, ooh, spooky. I don't know. It's just, I just find it kind of amusing. I just want to throw Pokeballs now. I don't really want to risk weakening it anymore. So I'll just go for Sand Attack. It's kind of funny that I'm probably less inclined to get rid of Sand Attack than I am to get rid of Bite. Than I am to get rid of Tackle. But anyway. 1, 2, 3. Duskull. There's something special about this Duskull. So special that I'm going to start the bio with it. Duskull's XD exclusive move, Helping Hand, is easily the best XD exclusive move we've seen so far. Especially on a Pokemon as defensive as Dusclops. And I'm not just talking for the main story. If you play competitive doubles at all, this is a fantastic move for Dusclops. Because of this, it might be worth your while to reset for Nature and IVs on this Duskull. Even if you're not a competitive battler, I'd recommend holding on to this Duskull, because any competitive battlers will probably be willing to trade you something pretty good for it. It's actually one of the most highly sought after Pokemon from XD. Leaving that aside, Duskull is a ghost type, but it's primarily a defensive Pokemon. It evolves into Dusclops a little late at level 37, and while evolution gets rid of the useful Levitate ability, it does become one of the very, very, very few Pokemon to get pressure and actually be good with it. Seriously, why did they give pressure to so many glass cannons that just don't get much use out of it? But Dusclops is one of the best users of pressure in the game. As a Dusclops, it has massive defense and special defense, it's very slow, has only average to bad attacking stats, and very, very poor HP. Also, it doesn't have access to Eviolite in this generation, so it's not quite the unstoppable wall that it was later on. Still, Dusclops is a pretty good defensive Pokemon despite its awful HP. As far as starting moves go, man, I wish you could keep Shadow Hold in competitive battling. It would actually be kind of useful on Dusclops. But Shadow Wave is kind of decent damage at first, Astonish is really, really not, and Confuse Ray is a debilitating move, I guess. On Purification, you obviously regain the amazing Helping Hand, but also Shadow Ball, which is physical this gen, so works off of Dusclops' slightly higher attacking stat. In terms of moves, you get Curse at level 34. This cuts your HP in half, but puts a curse on the target that takes away a quarter of their HP every turn. Now in single player, you can just use healing items to regain your lost HP, but I feel that's kind of cheap. Curse is still a decent option if you've got something that's tough to take down. Upon evolution, you get Shadow Punch. I don't think this is really worth it when you already have Shadow Ball. Shadow Punch never misses, but it is a lot weaker than Shadow Ball is. Will-O-Wisp at level 41, though, is a really, really great move for a Pokemon as defensive as Dusclops. I would very highly recommend it. And you have Mean Look at level 51 to trap things. This works decently in conjunction with Curse, but more in multiplayer battles than in single player. For TM moves, I'd probably recommend Toxic, because, you know, you're more of a defensive Pokemon. Rock Tomb adds a bit of utility in lowering speed, but there is a better move tutor move if you want to go that route. Safeguard also helps defensively, and you do have access to some interesting offensive options too, like Ice Beam, Earthquake, and Psychic, though Dusclops is not the most offensive Pokemon in the world. You also have Calm Mind, which can boost your special attack to usable levels, while making you even harder to take down with special attacks. For tutor moves, you can use Body Slam to paralyze things, though I personally prefer burning them. But there is one tutor move that I'd recommend, not so much for the damage, but more for dropping the speed of your opponent's entire field. Dusclops' high defenses mean that it can probably pull off multiple Icy Winds, really hurting your opponent's speed. Overall, whether in competitive or in casual main story play, this Duskull is a pretty good Pokemon to use. I'll get. And we have defeated the Cyberpeon guarding the stairs to the roof. But more importantly, we've got a Shadow Pokemon. That's just kind of how things happen. We are where we are needed. And now, it is time for things to be destroyed. While we have given up Spore for this, we now have a base 130 attack stat this early in the game. And we want to learn Mach Punch. Definitely learn Mach Punch. It is one of Breloom's best moves, even without Technician, because it gets around your low speed, and 40 power doesn't matter at this point in the game, because you have a 130 base attack stat. So, you know what, I didn't get to use it very much, but I think I'll get rid of Headbutt. We now have Mach Punch. It might still be worth keeping this even after you get Sky Uppercut later on. Anyway, I need to heal again. For now, though, I just want to mention something. Duskull was one of the Pokemon that I wanted to use on my main story team in this game. But I'm really starting to like Flaffy at this point, and I just realized that with Breloom getting rid of its grass moves, I need something on my team that can handle water types. And although I'm going to be catching something later that will get an electric move, an electric type of my own would definitely help there. So, also Heal Bell. So I kind of feel like I might want to be using Flaffy rather than that Duskull. We'll see, like, what I think, but at this point, I feel like that is what I'm going to go with. You might notice that I made an extra space in my party. There is a Shadow Pokemon coming up that I definitely want to use on my team. Wait a minute, I forgot to talk to that man. That's fine. Well, we can definitely make them stop. Just as soon as we talk to that old man. Sorry, I really want to because... Do you even know the invasion is going on? Well, at least you do. And that's all you have to say. But anyway, I like to talk to all the NPCs. Let's go ahead and battle this Cypher member on the roof. This will certainly make him stop. And just like with Hunter Dokkan in the last game, we're now suddenly off the roof and into the streets of Pyrite Town, which is pretty funny. So as much as I'd like to try out Breloom in this fight, there's a Kadabra here, so I'm going to go with Fish Slayer. I just want to get rid of that Kadabra, because obviously that's a very bad thing if you've got a fighting type out on the field. So, let's just, I'm going to... He has a Pokemon that I really, really don't want to come straight into a bite, but also he's an idiot. Yeah. Colosseum AI is not the smart... Well, Colosseum and XD AI. I mean, it's probably better than Aurus AI, but still, I mean, they use moves that don't affect you quite a lot. Thankfully, you still get to see Kadabra's spoon hitting it on the head, so they didn't shorten the fainting animation that much on it. Vigoroth. Okay, I'm fine with seeing that. In fact, you would make a pretty good, thing to try out Breloom on. That is such a weird animation. In fact, I should probably switch out, Fish Slayer right now, because I don't want that thing to use an electric move. I could use a Flaffy of my own, but nah, let's just go for, once again, we are burning a sheep. But what I'm really looking forward to is being able to smack that Vigoroth with a Mach Punch, which I used to call Match Punch. Yeah, I didn't know that it was pronounced Mark for, like, a really long time. Yeah, so I would always call it the Match Bike back in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. An Acro Bike I knew how to pronounce right, but it was always the Match Bike to me. But anyway, let's see just how much this does. Guaranteed to go first because priority. Not quite a one-shot, but still pretty effective. Okay, that could result in multiple criticals. Nope, only hit twice and no criticals, also you tripped Effect Spore. That was actually a pretty lucky turn for me. What's Flaffy gonna do? Well, you got burned. This time we are burning a sheep. And now they're both afflicted with statuses that hurt them. That's kind of funny. But, let's just finish this off quickly. Vigoroth gone, and you gone. And that clears the field for something kind of special. I would have appreciated that crit before, but, at least it caused the hilarity of you getting Effect Spore. I do have to watch out for Effect Spore against Shadow Pokemon, though, because I really don't want them getting poisoned. And this is really, really awesome. Kavana learns Crunch, even though it's only 20 power more than Bites, it's still an amazing move to learn this early. Like, level 22 and getting Crunch. Oh, I think Patrat gets Crunch earlier, but still. For Patrat, getting Crunch early is pretty much the only noteworthy thing about it, whereas for Kavana, it's still useful for a few other reasons. Yeah, Patrat's not all that amazing. But anyway, that's a few generations ahead. Ralts! Yep, this is a Shadow Pokemon. And Ralts is very, very fragile, and it's also got Trace, so... Actually, Trace is decent. Trace is probably the ability that I want on it, so glad that I've got Trace. It's funny, because in a speedrun, you actually catch this Ralts, but you don't want it to have Trace, because obviously Trace wastes time in every battle by giving an extra text box. So, right. You know, I keep forgetting this Breloom is still my status user, so let's go ahead and use Stun Spore, and let's just use Sand Attack, because, yeah. So, Ralts is not Fairy type yet, so Bite will be super effective, be aware of that. And gonna go for the Stun Spore. I'm actually glad that you have Trace, because otherwise you'd have Synchronize, and that would be pretty annoying. Although, if I False Swipe you and I end up poisoning myself, that would also be pretty annoying. Shadow Wave, obviously, you're going for that, because you're more special-based. But yeah, Ralts itself is fairly weak, but this Ralts is at a high enough level that it'll immediately evolve if it gains a level. Anyway, let's go for a False Swipe and I guess another Sand Attack. Actually, if I'm remembering correctly, Ralts is very, very easy to catch, so I should probably just throw a Pokeball right now. I just want to see, like, how weak your defenses are. Yeah, that does a lot. But I'm almost positive that a Pokeball now is going to catch it, so I'm going to go ahead and throw one. But I will do it with Flareon's turn, because obviously I want to just go for another False Swipe. That's probably the most productive use of my time in case it breaks out of this. I highly doubt it will break out, but you know what? I'm going to go for a Great Ball. This is complete overkill and not necessary at all, but you probably guess why I'm doing this. One, two, three. Ralts gets. Remember how I said that it'd be a very long time before we found a good offensive Psychic type if you didn't pick Espeon? Well, meet that good offensive Psychic type. Though it takes a little while to get there. Ralts starts out very, very weak. Thankfully though, it only needs one level after its starting one to evolve into Curlier, which is a step up, but Curlier is still kinda weak too. At level 30 though, you evolve into Gardevoir and gain some pretty impressive stats. Amazing special attack, great special defense, and slightly decent speed. You are pretty frail physically though. This line also has access to an ability that no other Pokemon in this game gets, Trace, which copies the opponent's ability. Well, in dull battles, it'll copy a random opponent's. Depending on what ability you get, it can range from useless to insanely good. But I'll just quickly mention that Tracing Intimidate doesn't do anything in Gen 3. Your other option is Synchronize, which is okay, but Trace is more fun overall. For moves, this Ralts also starts with Shadow Wave, which is a decent source of damage. Shadow Hold isn't that great. Regaining Reflect is kind of nice, and of course, Confusion is definitely something that you want, especially with this Ralts coming with a Twisted Spoon to boost its power even further. On Purification, you regain Shockwave, which is a decent electric type option if you don't have one at this point, but you'll want to replace this with Thunderbolt as soon as the TM becomes available. Ralts' XC exclusive move is Sing. Now, for the time that you first get it, it's not the best, but not the worst either. Its accuracy is shaky, but it is sadly one of the only sleep moves you have access to at this point, unless you're raising a Hoppip from the wild. But as an exclusive move in general, Sing is terrible on Gardevoir. Why? Because Gardevoir already learns Hypnosis anyway, which is just a slightly better version of Sing. For level up moves, you get Calm Mind in only one level. For level up moves, this route will learn Calm Mind in only one level. Now, while I normally highly recommend this on Gardevoir, I find it's a lot better in single battles than it is in double battles. In doubles, you're likely to get double targeted and taken down before you have a chance to build up a lot of Calm Minds. But the next level up move is really great. In my opinion, one of the biggest strengths of the routes line is they learn Psychic incredibly early at only level 26. Even in a game where you can find the TM for Psychic early on, you'll likely learn it before then. And once you do, you'll be wrecking stuff for pretty much the rest of the game. For other moves, Imprison can be used for the same reason as it can be on Vulpix, and Hypnosis should replace Sing when you get it. Even though Sing is XD exclusive, Hypnosis is superior in every way. For TM moves, Thunderbolt is highly recommended, and other than that, there's not much in the way of options. Thief is the only other special move you get. But when it comes to tutor moves, you have a few interesting options. The best one in my opinion is Icy Winds. This forms a pseudo Bolt Beam combo with Thunderbolts, although it's a bit too weak to actually be useful for its damage. Again, dropping the speed of your opponent's entire field is amazing in double battles. But you also have access to Thunder Wave if you want some status support. Also, while it's not the best move in the world, Ralt is one of the only Pokemon with access to Nightmare from the move tutor that naturally learns a sleep move itself. So that's an option if you want to go that route. Overall, Ralts and Kirlia are fairly weak and take a little while to reach their true potential, but Gardevoir is an amazing Psychic type, and probably the next best one next to Espeon. And now, we have to hurry back up to the roof after going all the way down the stairs and going onto the streets to do this battle. Ralt has joined the party, and yes, Ralt is a Pokemon that I want to use on my main team. I did use Gardevoir on my first playthrough, but it and Flareon are the only two Pokemon on this team that overlap with my main playthrough team. Sorry, I just got a phone call just then, but it did let me realize something. I didn't notice that you can see that guy walking back and forth up in the top of the screen there, the runner. So he just walks down there, and then if you wait for a little bit, he runs back up. It's kind of funny how you can still see him in the background here. But anyway, we've helped this guy out. So it's time to rescue a hostage. First though, you definitely want to heal before this fight. Now, actually you don't need to, but if you want to do the best you can, you want to make sure that you're fully prepared. This next fight is incredibly tough compared to what we've been facing so far. It has some decently strong Pokemon, I know I said a lot, but for this point in the game, its levels are pretty high. So yeah, the next fight though also has kind of a unique aspect to it that I'll be discussing once we get in there. Who do I want to be leading with? See, Kavana actually isn't that strong of a Pokemon for this next fight. But I do think I want to lead with Kavana. So, let's go and rescue Meg. You might remember this guy from back in the beginning of the game. He was one of those who helped kidnap Professor Crane. Yeah, Cypher knows what he can do. So unfortunately, it's one of those cases of, we got something from the villains only to be forced to give it back again. Usually due to them taking someone hostage. And not only that, but Cypher is surprisingly smart here. They scrubbed everything from the servers, so yeah, no backups. Ned thought he outsmarted them, but yeah, Cypher can be surprisingly savvy sometimes. Well, at least he was good on his word and released the hostage. But here we are. Unfortunately, we arrived a little too late. So it's time to fight Cypher Cmdr Exol. Cmdr. Yeah, obviously it's supposed to be Commander. It was easier to fit that in Japanese. But anyway, Exol is a pretty tough fight. But there is one very, very interesting thing about it that I didn't know until very recently. You don't have to win this battle. You can lose the fight, and the story will still progress as normal. It's really interesting, but there are a few fights in this game where you're allowed to do that. And it's also pretty hilarious in a speedrun, because there, you actually want to lose this fight as fast as possible, because that's the quickest way to finish it. So you actually intentionally knock out your own partner, and it's pretty funny. But anyway, story-wise, it does make sense that you don't have to win this fight, because really, Exile has already won. There is really nothing that you have gained from beating him. So, yeah, it is an optional battle, but it's one that I still want to win anyway. But like I said, it's very tough. He's got some fairly strong Pokemon, and they're all at pretty high levels. But this Girafarig should hopefully be able to take a lot of damage from these attacks. Let's go for the Crunch now. I actually prefer how Crunch looked in Colosseum, but it's a lot faster in XD, which is, I guess, better in the interest of keeping the battles running much more quickly and smoothly. Oh, you're going for Mawile already, huh? Well, there is one thing you get out of beating Exile, and that's this Mawile. So yeah, something that I should mention, if you lose this fight, it counts as you missing snagging Mawile. It'll count as a failed snag, and Mawile will go to Mirror B. So, I think on my first playthrough that actually happened, because, yeah, it is a pretty difficult snag. Especially seeing as it is very, very tough. I am honestly a little concerned that Fish Slayer is going to faint right here, because it might happen. We'll see. For now, though, we can just continue crunching things. Crunch is still a pretty great move at this point. Yeah, Shadow Rush. I called it. Yeah, this Mawile, it's kind of weird. You wouldn't think that Mawile would hit that hard, because it's not like Mega Mawile and it doesn't have huge power or anything. It still hits very, very, very hard, especially with all of its moves being super effective. It's probably the toughest Shadow Pokemon snag we've faced so far. I know that Mawile on its own doesn't seem like that strong of a Pokemon, but it really is for this point in the game. And it does also have Intimidate, so it's going to lower your attack power. Let's go for a Muck Punch there, and I know what his last Pokemon is, but the question is, do I go for Weakening Mawile, or do I go straight for that? I'm just going to go for Weakening Mawile a little bit. Obviously, I don't want to use Mac Punch on the Mawile itself. So, Loudred is down. I should mention that when I practiced this, I just barely won this fight. Like, I was down to just one Pokemon, so Exile is very tough. Ah, yes! Finally something to replace Tackle with. Obviously, Quick Attack is superior to Tackle in every single way, so I'm going to delete Tackle. No reason to keep that now. And as sad as it is, I'm probably going to be keeping Tackle right until the end of the game. It is priority, and it is sadly one of the best physical moves Flareon has, which, like I said, is very sad, but still. Raichu! That's also pretty tough. Now, this Raichu has Dig, so I'll need to watch out for Levitate here. It's also quite fast, so I'll often be able to go underground before you have a chance to attack it. So, you might want to bear that in mind. Okay, that flinch was great. But, I'm going to go for a Muck Punch on that. And yeah, I am probably not going to be able to get my attack in before it goes underground, so I'm just going to go straight for that and attack the Mawile. It's probably a good idea to catch the Mawile as soon as possible. Seismic Toss, that's a weird move for you to be using. Because Mawile is actually a pretty big threat in this fight, so getting it off the field is beneficial. I don't think I've actually mentioned this before, so this is a good time to do so, but in Colosseum, if you snagged a trained Shadow Pokemon and then lost the fight, you still kept the Shadow Pokemon. Not true in XD. In XD, if that happens, you actually lose the Shadow Pokemon, and I don't think it counts as them going to Mirror B, but you do have to, like, re-challenge them if you want to snag the Shadow Pokemon again. So, you only get to keep the Pokemon if you win the fight, basically. Ah, really? That's annoying. Normally this Raichu loves to spam Dig. I have no idea why it's just going for Seismic Toss. Although if that thing uses Shadow Rush on Breloom, I'm not going to like this. Yeah, you use Shadow Rush on Breloom. Well, at least I have a backup Thunder Wave user. Another reason why I might want to use Flaffy here. Like, as in my main team. So, let's go. Consider this your tryouts, I guess. Let's go for Thunder Wave on the Mawile, and, oh hey, I have Quick Attack. Perfect opportunity to put it to use. Let's go, Levitate. Destroy that Raichu. Because, yeah, this Raichu actually is pretty dangerous. Gives kind of decent experience, too. But yeah, this Mawile is also very dangerous. Yeah, that hits very, very hard. Certainly a step up from Delcatty. This guy's not even considered a Cypher admin, and he's probably a lot harder than Lavrina. But anyway, as I did say before, there are a few of these fights in this game that are optional, like that you can lose and the story will still progress. So there is another one later, and I'll draw attention to it when we get there, but for now, just bear in mind this is a fight like that. Yeah, so Tracing and Intimidate works differently in Gen 3. It doesn't actually activate immediately, and because of that, it's useless. So, in later generations, I think it was starting with 5, that when you trace an ability that triggers based on something, it'll trigger immediately. Like if it triggers like when you're sent out. Whereas here, it doesn't, because it doesn't consider you as having been sent out directly into battle that turn, or at least when you were sent out into battle that turn, you didn't have Intimidate, if that makes sense. So, it works differently here than it does in later generations. Anyway, let's go for this. I'm not entirely sure if this will snag. Definitely use Great Balls for this. 1. Nope. Yeah, Mawile is a pretty tough snag. I'm not entirely surprised that it broke out of my first one. And I will probably need to restock my Pokeballs after this. But yeah, even with the resistance, Ralph is still taking massive damage from Shadow Rush. Don't exactly want you fainting in your first battle, but let's see. Let's go for another Body Slam, and I'm gonna have to heal again. See, I have actually lost 2 of my Pokemon, so this is still a pretty tough fight. It's just not going as badly as it did in my practice run. Still going for that Shadow Rush. Man, it's not like you... Yeah! It's definitely your best option, so probably a good thing that you're still going for that. I'm gonna switch out just because I want to. I'm gonna go for another Great Ball. It is kind of interesting how Pokeballs take priority over absolutely everything, including switching. 1, 2, 3. Mawile gets. Phew. It may be terrifying to face in this boss fight, but Mawile is another one of those Pokemon that's good for this point in the game, but drops off later on. Its stats aren't that special, with its best ones being 85 attack and defense, and the rest of its stats being pretty bad. Intimidate is a great ability, and you definitely want that rather than Hyper Cutter, but overall, Mawile just can't really keep up with better Pokemon later in the game, as it doesn't get a Mega in this gen, obviously. Starting with Shadow Rush, though, is decent, and it will hit very hard with it, again, at this point in the game, but you also have Shadow Wave too for some spread damage. For your other moves, Iron Defense is the main winner here, but more so in conjunction with another move that you learn. It also has False Swipe, but I feel like Breloom is a far better user of that, personally. And its XD exclusive move is Sing. It's not great, but it's better than Refresh, I guess. For level up moves, the majority of them just aren't worth using on Mawile in Gen 3. Stockpile doesn't raise stats, it'd be great if it did, but it doesn't in Gen 3. And Dark-type moves are all special. But Mawile does have one interesting option, Baton Pass at level 31. Really the only thing you'll be passing is Iron Defense though, but that can help to boost up the defenses of another Pokemon on your team. For TMs, Mawile actually learns quite a lot of good special moves, but they're not worth using with only a 55 base special attack stat, so I've only listed the physical options here. Brick Break, Sludge Bomb, and Rock Tomb are all decent physical options, and Toxic might be worthwhile too, seeing as later in the game, Mawile isn't all that offensive. For tutor moves, you've got Body Slam and Double Edge once again. Body Slam can be nice for the paralysis though, and Icy Wind is, like I've said, always pretty helpful in double battles. Also Seismic Toss, considering that Mawile will fall behind in power later on. So overall, Mawile is another Pokemon that's good early, but falls behind later in the game. So yeah, we have beaten Cypher Cmdr Exol. You pretty much have to be a battling pro to beat him. You do miss out on the money too if you don't win this fight. But yeah, this scene here happens pretty much exactly the same whether you win or lose. So, like he says here, he's basically already got what he came for, so there was really, like, beating him didn't really do much. But at least this music is back now. Oh, but it seems like they already got some data. At least they were able to get some. So, this wasn't a complete failure. Well, we already knew that as players, but this is the first time the protagonists are finding out. And that's really bad. Phoenix City is pretty much one of the few bastions of peace in this region, so we don't want that place to fall to Cypher. Oh, and the friend of theirs has gone off to Phoenix City. Of course she has. Thankfully, the mayor of Phoenix City is, hopefully, not going to be in league with them this time. And at least some of the data they deleted might be able to be recovered. Yes, I know him. I know him very well. Yes, he'll certainly stop them, but at what cost? He'll just be double-team spamming all over the place, and nobody will have a fun time. So anyway, with the attack on this place over... That was a surprisingly long loading screen. There's pretty much nothing left to do here except go to the PC and check out what Shadow Pokemon we have. Oh, and obviously we want to use the healing machine. So with that, this part of the game is pretty much done. Next time we'll be heading out to Phoenix City. See if you're saying anything new. Yeah, there's not really much reason to stay here and talk to everyone. Well, I guess you didn't know. So, unfortunately, he got beaten up to the point where he can't come with us. Again, that's kind of dark for a Pokemon game. And these people are happy that Meg's safe. Yeah, that's kind of funny that this guy's now taking up the reception spot, and he barely even fits in there. Yeah, you probably need a bigger police force in this region, just saying. So yeah, questioning witnesses about the whole thing. You really should go up and see Meg, she's fine now. But anyway, that's pretty much all we have to do here. So, next time, I think I'll actually focus on purifying Ralts a little bit. You know, this might be a good excuse to go through the earlier parts of Mount Battle. I know that Mount Battle's not really necessary for purifying Shadow Pokemon anymore, because the Purify Chamber does such a better job of that, but you do get TMs for... Oh, okay, that's interesting. Again, they need a much better police force in here. But you do get a TM for every area leader you beat, and some of the TMs can be quite useful. I thought it was the Team Snag'em guy. Yep, he's gone. I'm sorry, that just amuses me because I still remember that guy, the Team Rocket Grunt in Gold and Silver who did that, and I was saving this for when I played Heart Gold, but I always thought that back when I was a kid, that was pronounced Hayek, 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 and there was like a super sophisticated phrase. I didn't realize it was supposed to be like a hillbilly laugh. I thought it was like Hayek, Hayek, Hayek. Anyway. So, like I said, next time we'll be heading out to Phoenix City. Or will we?